Okay, legends, we're sitting here with Master of Disaster, Dino, after doing a couple of sensational training sessions. Dino is, for those crew at home, everyone say hello to the people at home. All around the world, we've had a couple of fantastic sessions. Dino took the group, a small group, through a group training session, good little half-hour neat session. How effective was that, would you say, Blair?
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely. This is Blair, the next black cap opening bowler for the New Zealand cricket team. Yeah, so we're going to have a bit of a chat, but make sure you have a look at that video. We filmed it, a nice little half-hour session full of good intensity, great intensity actually. And then Shawnee, she's just recovering from her one-on-one interval training sessions which Dino took her through. And when you have a look at those sessions, they'll explain the big question: how did Dean Williams get 120 to 150 sessions per week? And when you have a look at that, you can see why people would love to train with him, and how he puts things into a nice time-efficient half-hour session that can train so many people, but more importantly, help so many people achieve their health and fitness goals. So I just want to hand it over to Dean so he can share with you this small group of legends and the legends at home, his approach to doing, say, group exercise, cardiovascular. We're focusing on cardiovascular fitness, group cardiovascular and one-on-one cardiovascular fitness, and how to put together a fantastic training session that you will have so many clients that you'll be booked out. Dino?
So first of all, with your cardio sessions, you need to understand, just like a group class, you need to understand what you're going in there to do. But never make up a session on the spot under any circumstance, because you'll get halfway through and you'll get stuck, and your clients will know, and then they won't come back. So although every cardio session and every group training session will be different, they should all have a similar template. So they should all be systemized in your head and on paper and in a system, so you know how your class or how your session is going to be constructed. So if you have a look at our group class and our cardio session, they were both very similar construction. The group class just has more people in it. Yeah. So I would always do a 5-minute warm-up and a 5-minute introduction. So in the group class, you would have noticed I did a 5-minute introduction, introduced myself, spoke about what we were doing today. With Shawnee's session, I spoke about what her goals were, what she's training for at the moment, if she had any injuries, and what we were going to be doing that session. The reason why that's important is because when your clients are able to mentally prepare themselves for what's going to happen, you'll find they work a lot harder, and you'll find your class is a lot more seamless. Because when you get into the class, if you're doing an interval training session like what we did, which is what I would advise in 30 minutes, you need to make sure that the intervals are short. So in order to do that, they need to know what's happening, so that way you don't waste time in the middle of the class trying to explain what's going on. Yeah. So they need to understand at the start as a basic idea of what's going to happen. Don't make it complicated, keep it nice and simple, but just make sure they know what happens. So you've got your 5-minute introduction, your 5-minute preparation talk as to what's going to happen. Then you'd move into 5 minutes of some sort of interval work, and I break my classes generally up into 3 or 4 5-minute exercise bouts. So if you look at Shawnee's one first, each one of the segments was about 5 minutes. We did 4 minutes of interval work on the bike, followed by a 1-minute rest, so she could recover. Then we did 4 minutes of interval work on the rower, followed by a 1-minute rest, so she could recover. Then we did a 5-minute circuit on her legs, and then we finished off with a 4-minute circuit on her upper body. So you want to try and break it up into those 5-minute segments, so then that way you know that first of all it's going to finish on time, you know how to break up your class, you know what activities to do, and it all goes very smoothly together. And that way you've also got planned rest time for them, rather than just waiting for them to ask for rest. You can tell them when the next rest is coming up, therefore they'll work a lot harder. And it also seems a lot more professional. And then you've got to allow for that time at the end for a stretch and maybe even a massage at the end. So 5 or 10 minutes there, so you can wrap up. Speak about their goals for the next session. So I don't know if you guys heard, but in Shawnee's session, we were talking about what she's going to do for her training throughout the week, and we're setting some objectives there. It's important that you talk about that. And in our stretch at the end of the group class, I was giving you some information on breathing. So it's important you try and add value there. Cool. So then once you've got that template, it's quite easy to break your class up into who's there, what intensity you should work at, and what you should be training them for. It'll become quite simple there, but you've got to have that system first, where it's broken up into segments. And one of the other things with your classes is just like they have at Max, you've got to have your non-negotiable standards in your cardio sessions. So I don't know if you guys heard at the start, but I told Shawnee that I've got a rule, and that's that you can't give up. We can drop back the intensity, but you can't give up. Because what you've got to look at with your sessions and with any exercise that you're getting your clients to do, they need to walk out feeling like a winner. Because if they walk out feeling like they've lost or that they didn't achieve, then they're not going to continue with their training, or they're not going to have a very productive week. They need to leave their session feeling like a winner. So therefore, you've got to make sure in their sessions that they don't give up. So you've got to make sure, first of all, that your class or your session is simple and easy to follow, that it's at an intensity that can easily be adjusted, and that you are capable of putting in reinforcements to make sure that they do what they need to do. Does that make sense? If you noticed on the rower with Shawnee, I was adjusting the resistance as she got a little bit more tired. So first few was 70 metres, next few was 65 metres. I could have just said you've got to get at least 80 metres. She would have done 2 and then she would have given up because it's too hard. So you've got to make sure, first of all, it's achievable and that it's in their time frame and that they can do it. You've also got to make sure that they don't give up, because they need to walk out feeling like they've achieved something from your session. If you just have one simple rule for yourself in any cardio session or any group exercise class, you should try and make every client leave feeling empowered. If you just focus on making every client leave feeling empowered, you'll have a magnificent career and you'll get awesome client results. So you've got to make them leave feeling empowered. So make sure you've got the time frames planned. Time frames are planned, so maybe 5-minute intervals. 5 minutes is good because it's a good enough time to allow someone to work hard on a piece of equipment. It allows rest time in there as well, and it prevents them from getting bored on that piece of equipment. Not that they will really get bored, but it makes sure you stay focused as well. You've got to make sure that it's simple, so don't put any crazy exercises in there because it might be difficult, but if they can't do it, it's difficult for the wrong reasons. And you've got to make sure that they leave feeling empowered. Probably some of the biggest things. So you've just got to have your non-negotiable standards of the cardio session. My one is quite simple. People can't give up. Like when I give them the thing at the start, you obviously ask them how hard they want to work out of 10. But if they say 8, give them an 8 out of 10 difficulty session. Don't give them a 12 out of 10 difficulty session. And just make sure that they complete everything in that session. Don't set them something if you don't think they can do it. Because what that will allow you to do over time is you'll actually be able to use that over time. Because when you actually push them to do something that they're really not sure they could do, a perfect example is a few of my clients who ran the half marathon on the weekend. A lot of them 10 weeks ago couldn't run 5 kilometres. And then they just finished their first half marathon. And the first time I spoke to them, they said, "There's no way I can do a half marathon, you're a madman." And my simple response was, has there ever been anything that I've ever asked you to do that you couldn't do? Since they've always achieved everything they needed to in their sessions, they just said, "No, everything you asked me to do, I've been able to do." So this is no different. So you've just got to make sure it's achievable, because you can draw back on that over time. After they've done a few sessions where they've achieved, you can afford to push them a little bit more with their fitness. And if they say they can't do it, which a lot of them will because they lack that self-belief, then you can just say, "Has there ever been anything that I've asked you to do that you couldn't do before?" And since you've made them feel empowered, they will continue and they'll achieve. And therefore your clients will keep getting fitter and stronger. You'll be very happy, you'll be a very good trainer. Any questions? There's got to be questions.
So you're saying depending on the client's intensity level, so say they want to train to 6, what do you drop in the interval training? Do you drop the resistance or you drop the time that you train?
I'll generally keep the time the same because in the end they're broken up into segments, but I'll drop down the resistance. So say for example with Shawnee in that part I was trying to get her to do 110 RPM, which she did. But if she came in and said, look, I'm not feeling the best today, I'd do a similar drill, but I might drop it back to 80 or 90 RPM. So she's still getting a little bit puffed, still breaking a little bit of a sweat.
RPM means revolutions per minute.
Yeah, revolution per minute on the bike.
Just for those who don't know.
Sorry. And then we'll go from there. But in the end, if a client walks in and they tell you they want to work a 6 out of 10, generally I'll try and find out what's bothering them first.
How do you start? Obviously, Shawnee is an elite athlete, aren't you, Shawnee? Miss Bikini. How do you approach a beginner who you've never trained before and you don't really know how fit he or she is? How do you approach setting the intensity levels? What's your approach to that?
This is one of the reasons why I like interval work so much in sessions, is because you can easily upgrade it throughout the rounds. So I would recommend with a person, always start a little bit lower than what you think they can do. Always start a little bit lower because it's easier to build up than it is to come back down. Because if you start too hard with someone, they freak out. And you can judge that off. Difficulty out of 10 is a very good question to ask. How hard do you want to work out of 10 today? An 8. And then you gauge the rest of your sessions off that. So if you've never trained them before or you're not sure how fit they are, then you ask them throughout, how was that difficulty out of 10 in that first round? If they say an 8, you've got the nail on the head. If they say a 9, then you can ask something like, do you feel like you can do that same level of intensity again? If they say a 7, go, do you feel comfortable boosting it up a little bit? It's always those questions. Gauge your session off questions, not what you think. Ask them what they think.
With your group training, what do you think the perfect amount of people is to actually train within a gym?
Okay, that's a very good question. Obviously, it depends on the size of your facility. I would say if you can be training, if your class is very systemized, you can train 10, 15, 20 people on your own, but it depends on the fitness level of your participants. If they're all different fitness levels, it can become quite difficult. If you've got a group of people, say for example, if we had a big class here of max students, you've all got a relatively good fitness level, so therefore it wouldn't be that hard for me to take 20 of you to a class, because you've all got a rough idea of exercises. But if you're taking a class of beginners, which a lot of you will be, a class of beginners, I would say about 10 people on your own is a good class, and then you might get an assistant in there to help you. Okay? An assistant for the next 10. It just depends on their level. If they're brand new, they obviously need a little bit of help, because you don't want people to get injured in your class, and you want them to have a really wow experience, because you want them to leave feeling empowered.
And obviously, the thing is, when you have 20 people, it's trying to keep control
Yeah.
and keep motivation. How do you approach that on a big group? How do you keep control of the group? Obviously, all within eyeshot. And how do you keep the motivation, considering that you can't get around to as many as each person as quickly as you normally would?
Yeah. You've got to make sure when you set up your class that it's set up. If you have a look at how we set up the class today, you're all facing inwards and you're all facing towards me. So I could very easily address the situation. If it's a bigger class, just make it a bit bigger.
So everyone can actually look at each other.
Everyone can look at each other.
Feed off the energy.
Yeah, and they can feed off the energy. Whereas if you get someone looking at the wall, it's very easy for them just to let themselves go for a rest.
Start to drop off.
Whereas if you've got them all facing each other, you'll find that they'll work a lot harder. Or if your class is really big, you can split people up into groups.
Such
Okay.
as?
So you might put, let's say for example, if you've got fitter people in the group and you've got slower people in the group, you group the slower people together and the fitter people together. Because if you mix slow people with really fit people, the slow people feel like they're holding the fit people back, and the fit people feel like they might be embarrassing the slow people.
Okay.
So you want to try and group people together so that they're training with someone that they like. This is
So
particular.
they'll be pairing them up?
Pairing them up, putting them in groups of 4.
Okay.
Groups of 2 to 4. If it's boxing, you try and pair people up equally, or you can pair people up together, because you'll generally find people work a bit better in a group, especially if they're coming along to a group class. They generally like that group environment. And you'll also find that helps with retention as well. Because if they start meeting people in your group class, then they've got other reasons to come than just for the exercise.
One of the things that I used to do in the big groups is I'd get you pair up with someone around your your fitness level, motivation level, obviously liking as well. So if you had 20 people, there'd be 10 pairs. And would structure it where if they're doing step-ups, one would be doing step-ups, and the goal of the other one was to be get in their face and motivate them. So not only are you motivating, but their partner is. You go 1 minute of step-ups, and then, because it's only 1 minute and another got a minute rest, then they swap straight away, and the other person does a minute. And the person who just did it motivates the other one. So they all feed off each other, and you just go around and add your little sort of essence of love and motivation.
I like that, that's good.
And that's why you've also got to make sure that your class is very well explained at the start. Make sure it's nice and simple. And because if everyone's sort of facing in towards you, or you're in a very central position, if anyone gets confused, it's very easy for you to correct them because you don't have to run to them. You can just direct them from the center or from the front of the class. Whereas if everyone's facing everywhere and they're all hiding in their own little places, you've got to run everywhere in between the class.
Yeah.
And it's very likely that you might miss a time and then people get frustrated and you'll very easily lose control. So you've just got to make sure your positioning is very good. And then if you notice before each circuit I was doing, I explained what we were doing. So you just want to make sure it's a very clear explanation.
The other reason for you to be able to see them is another thing is for them to know that you can see them. Because you're the trainer, the clients actually admire you and put you on a bit of a pedestal. And just you looking at them, what do you think happens to the intensity? So if they know they're always looking at them, everyone just raises the intensity. So that's why it's important for them to know that you, the leader, can be looking at them, and they don't know when you're looking at them, but they know they're looking, so they keep pumping out. If they're in a corner, they'll tend to loaf off.
Yeah.
Good question.
I guess it's creating an achievement atmosphere. And that atmosphere sometimes can be built the closer people are. The more spread people are, the less the atmosphere. It's easy to build a bigger atmosphere in a small place. That if you put 10 people in a room, in a small room, you can build atmosphere. Put 10 people spread over a football field, there's no atmosphere. So part of your structure is, as Dino did beautifully, he brought everything close. So everyone can see each other, and that itself adds to the atmosphere.
How many circuits would you try and get a group to do a week?
How many classes
Yeah,
a
how
week?
many classes, yeah.
At our studio, we run 13 classes a week.
Yeah.
So we actually tell people not to come to all 13 because that's overtraining and you'll get injured.
Yeah.
But people we generally recommend to maybe come to 2 classes a week. There's multiple reasons why you get clients to come to group classes. Because it allows them to build retention, allows them to meet people in the studio, builds a bit more culture, gives them a little bit more training.
Do you have particular names for those classes based on what they're focused on?
Yeah. So we've got Monday evening. So for example, we've got boxing. Tuesday morning we've got strength, which is more a resistance-based class, so a weights-based class. Tuesday at lunchtime we've got cross training, which is a little bit of a combination of circuits. It might be outdoors, might be indoors. Then Wednesday morning we've got run club, an interval class. Then Wednesday at lunchtime we've got...
Run club is running, I'm assuming.
Yeah, run club is running.
Inside?
No, outside.
Outside.
The Wednesday evening we've got cross training again, so this is a later class. Then Thursday morning we've got boxing, obviously boxing. Thursday midday we've got boxing again. Thursday night time we've got a burner class, which was very similar to what we did before. So a circuit class that'll focus on specific muscle groups through each circuit. Yeah, so if you've noticed in that one we did a leg one, an upper body one, and a cardiovascular one towards the end. Friday morning we've got extreme marines. That's my class.
It's your
That's my class. That's probably one of the tougher classes, and that one's outdoors. That one will involve a little bit of a combination of everything the other classes involve. Then Friday during the day we've got a revive class, which is a stretch class. Saturday morning we've got run club again, which is outdoors. Saturday morning we've got a boxing class again. And then Saturday after that we've got a revive class too, where the 2 classes come together.
When you say run club, how does it work? And you stood in the middle and they're doing
No.
circles,
So I don't take run club. One of my
Yeah.
trainers takes that, and we always have at least 2 or 3 trainers at run club. If you find when you run a running club, that is generally the hardest class to control.
That's what I mean with different
Yeah.
different speeds.
So generally you'll have a run club instructor who takes the advanced group and he'll lead the advanced group. We'll have an intermediate instructor and we'll have a beginner instructor. Because that way everyone's around an instructor so they feel like they can go at their own level.
So you run around the field or around the block or?
Wednesdays will be around a park
Okay.
because it's interval work, so
Yeah.
we base it off meters around the park. On Saturday it'll be a set course that's more of a long distance course.
What sort of distance you looking at when you say long distance? How far is it?
Yeah, our last one was 17 kilometres
Fair enough.
because we were training for the half marathon, but now we'll go back to a shorter distance because the half marathon's over and we'll be training up for another event.
What would be the top few things that make a great
Group session.
group session, instructor? You looking for in employing someone to take class or being a participant? What's maybe the top 3 qualities that separate a great trainer from an average trainer?
Enthusiasm. In a group class, people feed off your enthusiasm, so you've got to be really enthusiastic. Like you've got to pump yourself up before you do a group class. Like you can't go in there, like sometimes you shouldn't, but you can get away in a cardio session with being a little bit slower. Very rarely, but you can get away with it more in a cardio session than what you do in a group session. In a group session, you've got to bring the energy because the class will lift to your level or they'll drop to your level. Yeah. And you can't let things get to you in a class because if for whatever reason someone frustrates you in the class, you've got to let it go straight away because people will sense it and the intensity will drop and you'll have a terrible class. So enthusiasm is the first thing. Ability to give clear instruction is the second thing. They've got to be able to give clear instruction very quickly and be able to take control of the class. And lastly, they've got to be inspirational. Because like K-Man said, if you're an inspirational instructor and people actually look up to you and your fitness level and how you present yourself, then all you need to do is look at them and they'll lift their intensity. That's all you need to do. Whereas if you're not an inspiring instructor, let's say you're a little bit overweight or you present really poorly or you didn't turn up on time, you can look at them all you want, they're not going to do anything. You'll look at them and they'll just go, stuff it. And we'll go back to doing what I want. So you've got to be enthusiastic, you've got to be able to give clear instruction, and you've got to be inspirational.
So if a client's slightly dropping off the pace, how do you motivate them to get back up?
You don't want to get at them, you don't want to nag them, because if you nag them, then they'll just get irritated in your class. And if it gets to a point, because I know because I've done this, I've really nagged people before, and if it gets to a point in your class where you've nagged that person too much and they blow up, it is one of the worst things. And that's happened to me before. I've had people walk out of a class, and it's a very embarrassing and difficult thing to manage. So you've just got to make sure you give that person motivation and then just let them run at their own fitness level. Give them motivation, make sure they've got clear instruction, but also think to yourself, why aren't they trying? Is it because this exercise is too complicated? Is it because they're injured? Is it because they're not motivated, or is it because they're upset? There's only a few things that you can control in that situation. Like if you know they're upset because you know them and you know they've had a rough week, then maybe you can just go have a quiet word in their ear to go, mate, I know you've had a tough week this week, but while you're here, let's be here. Okay, you'll thank yourself afterwards. If you've spoken to someone and you've addressed that they need to lift their performance, and you go, come on mate, you can work a bit harder than that, and they don't do it, don't say it in public again. Go have a quiet word in their ear. Maybe in the rest break, go up to them and just go, is everything okay today? I just feel that you're a little bit off your game. And sometimes that'll be enough. Yeah. Or you need to have a look at it and you might think that the exercise is too complicated. Like you might have tried to do a difficult boxing combination, or you've put in, I don't know, burpee box jumps or something ridiculous. And then people won't work hard just because it's too difficult. And as soon as someone gets embarrassed in a group situation, they won't work hard the rest of the session. So that's why you've just got to make sure your class is simple, easy and difficult. And one of the things I've really found with a group class is do it off timing, not off reps. Do it off timing, not off reps. Because if you do it off reps, people's fitness levels will vary too greatly, and you'll get the fit people finishing really early, and they'll find the class isn't difficult enough, and then you'll have the slower people who are finishing later, and they feel really embarrassed. And then you'll have the fit people and the slow people won't come back to your class next week. Whereas if you do it off time, let's say for example 30 seconds, then the unfit people will work to their level, the fit people will work to their level, and everyone will have a great time.
And the importance of putting exercises in there that can become hard or easier depending how much effort you put into it, rather than picking a hard exercise that a beginner can't do. So pick exercises where the difficulty of the exercise is dependent upon the effort that you put in, not the difficulty and the complexity of the exercise. You know, sometimes trainers will come up with a new exercise which is just physically too demanding for a beginner. However, if you simplify it, then it can be physically demanding for an advanced person by putting more effort into it, not complexity.
The jump squat's a perfect example. If someone's really unfit, they can just reduce it to a normal squat. Whereas if someone's really strong and really powerful, they can try and touch the roof. So the difficulty of that exercise can increase greatly.
And push-ups the same, they can have a break in between each push-up. You clap push-ups, normal push-ups, K-man push-ups, pause push-ups, and isometric push-ups with your belly on the floor, trying to lift yourself up. I'm kidding. Or push-ups on the knees.
So say if you've got your program set for your circuit and say more people turn up, what would you do in that situation? Would you add some more workouts to it, or just?
Depends how many people showed up. Like if, say for example, the class today, if I was expecting 5, so I was told the class today we had 5, if 9 people showed up, I would just pair people together. I would have one person on their own. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whereas if 2 more people showed up, I would have added 2 more exercises.
So just depending on how big.
Just depending on how big the variance is. Like if it's a 50% variance, I'll just pair people up. If it's a 10% variance or a 5% variance, then I'll just add in more exercises to compensate.
Have you still got a booking program in place though? So they're signing up for it the week before and things? Or?
Yeah, so pretty much every 9 weeks at Vision we do our goal sessions, and then people will look at their classes and they'll commit to classes at that 9 weeks for the next 9 weeks. And so then the group exercise instructor can have a look at that schedule for the class and make sure they've got a rough idea of who's there. There'll always be about between a 2 to 5 person variance in that class. Either people won't turn up, or extra people will turn up, or people will bring their friends, which is normal, and it's brilliant. So the instructor's got to have the ability to give that 10% variance.
Do you set each individual goals for people like that then, or is it just when you're saying it's a 9-week thing?
Yeah.
Do you set goals for each person when they sign up to it? How does it work?
So we do a 9-week goal session, which is where you do all your measurements, everything like that. We talk about what your 12-month goals are, 6-month goals are, 9-week goals are. Then we talk about your training program, what you're going to be doing on what days. And then from there we'll talk to them about the group classes and what group classes they're going to come up to.
And the importance of every time Shawnee was getting tired when you said, think about bikini contest or how great your legs are going to look, you can see her raising her intensity because we gave her a reason to, and the importance as a trainer to do a quick refresh of all the clients in your class and why they're training. So it's not about, go harder. The big question is, why go harder? So come on, George, go harder. Remember, the half marathon's only 3 weeks away. So those gentle reminders to get them to put more effort into each exercise. So as a trainer, knowing all of their goals before you start training them is just as important as a one-on-one.
And if you've got a class with a lot of new people, a thing that can work, like all of you guys know each other, but a thing you can do at the start is get people to introduce themselves. Just get everyone to go around the circle and introduce themselves. Just say their name.
You could do, because people help each other. So if I'm training and I'm beside Blair and I know he's training to make the black caps, if we happen to be in the same area, sometimes you might say, come on, think of the black caps. You say, yeah, come on, come in, think of. So you actually can get your group to help feed off each other. And that can be easily done by just introduce their name, what their goal is, so everyone knows each other's goals. So you're forming a team, and how hard they want to train today out of 10. So as a trainer, if you're on the rower, rather than me going push it, I say, Chris, what's the score? And you said at the start that you're going to train a 9 out of 10, you'd say 7. I don't have to say anything, do I? He's going to up the ante. Says, You know the number. So you use all those tools. It's not about yelling and screaming and grunting and groaning and push it and pull it and all that. But they're just hollow words. What you have to do is put something in the word, a meaning to the word. And the meaning comes from the goal, big goal, and what they want to achieve out of that training session, which is how hard they want to train that day. Because you may have Mr. Jones, who's you're just lucky that he's here, because he's had a big night on the Terps last night. He's completely hungover, and him just being here is a winner, because he's here rather than staying in bed. So he may say, look, I just want to be able to get through this thing today. Then great, fantastic. Then that's his win for the day. You're not obviously not going to be pushing him for a personal best on that day when he did have the option to stay in bed, but he chose to come and do the damage.
The same with the running that I said to you about, what you were chatting about, and the half marathon you were talking about before. Was that set up prior to them joining it, or was it something you introduced as you started the running classes? How does it work?
So Run Club had a plan.
Yeah.
Sort of 12 weeks out, we began training for the Sydney Half Marathon, and anyone who was doing the Sydney Half Marathon, they had to come to Run Club.
Right.
That was it. You just have to come to Run Club. Because you can't do, like a thing to realise in your sessions, you can't train for long, slow distance in a 30-minute session. It's a waste of time.
Right, okay.
So talking about times, your view on, obviously out there are options where you can do hour classes, 45-minute classes, hour and a half classes, half-hour classes. What time frame in a class do you think is ideal for a cardiovascular session?
30 minutes.
And why do you say that?
30 minutes, people work the hardest. I find. Because if I've got a 30-minute session, I'll work hardest in 30 minutes. And I'm sure you guys would agree today, you work pretty hard in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Like if I said we're doing an hour, would you have worked that hard?
Well, I was thinking that I was watching that class, and I know there are people who do hour classes, and I thought, how on earth can you do that for an hour? You were dying after 15 minutes. The same with Louis Shawnee. Imagine if you had to do that again. I mean, you almost did in 5 minutes, and then your heart flew and you got through it. So half hour?
Half hour. Yeah, the best classes, because we at our studio, we do run both. We do have 30-minute sessions and 1 hour sessions. And to be honest, we just pad the hour sessions out, so it is 30 minutes of activity anyway. So we'll walk to a place. So the hour classes will generally be outdoor classes, and so we'll spend 5 or 10 minutes going to the area that we're going to work out in. In the beginning, there'll be a 5-minute introduction as to what they're going to be going through the day. 30 minutes of high intensity work, 5 minutes stretch, 10 minutes return.
What would you use on a average outdoor class? As in, would you take boxing pads and things? What?
If it's a boxing class, we'll take boxing stuff. If it's not, then we'll generally use just what we've got.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
What do you mean by what we've got?
Just use people, use the activities that we've got. So it might be sprints up and back.
Right.
It might be squats, just like what we did here today.
Mm.
Just like what we did here today.
And
Yeah.
park has also benches and
Yeah.
monkey bars.
Playground.
And moving, running kids, you can use them as, go and tackle a kid, bring him back to base and let him go again.
Give the kid a little bit of a head start.
Give him a head start, you can give him a lollipop. How about, I asked you, because you went through Dean's group sessions, and you went through his one-on-one cardio sessions, what were the things that, from a participant, you really liked or encouraged by or motivated by? What were the aspects? It's good to experience it, and then it helps you replicate it for your clients. So what are some of the things you enjoyed about the class?
I really enjoyed how the time penalty, that we only had 10 seconds or 15 seconds to get to the next station, and for every second you went over, there was a 10-second added on to the duration of the exercise, and we only made that mistake once. No, we did. Yeah, we got it twice.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
but yeah, it was.
It stops people from lagging behind, I'm
It does.
assuming is the main.
Yeah.
People always test it in your class.
Yeah.
So you've got to make sure, if the biggest mistake I've seen group instructors do is talk a big game, talk about a big penalty that they're not going to follow through with. Because if you say, if you don't make this next thing on time, we're going to do 20 minutes of burpees, people are in their head, they're like, we're not going to do 20 minutes of burpees. So then they just go, I'm not going to care. If, for example, when I've participated in a group class and the group instructor is given an unrealistic punishment like that, I'll test it. I'll just go, you know what, I'm deliberately going to go slower now to see what you're going to do. Because I know they're not going to do it. So I'll deliberately go slower. Whereas if you offer a 10-second penalty per second, it's a very easy thing to incorporate into your class. And it's something that people will still work hard through. And as soon as you commit to the punishment, they won't make that mistake again. So you've just got to hold your ground. Same in your cardio sessions.
You can also, I phrase it slightly different to Dino. I say, for every, if you're not there in time, I give you an extra reward. The extra reward is that at the end of the class, that's 10 push-ups, and every time you are late, I add another 10 push-ups, not just for that person, but the entire group, because we're a team here. So isn't that fantastic? You get to do more push-ups, more tight and toned. Isn't that awesome? Just a little, rather than punishment, I turn it into a little positive, because that's the way I'm wired, I suppose. But really, they don't see it as a reward, they see it as a punishment in a way. But what other things you enjoy about?
I noticed when Dean was training Shawnee that when Shawnee was doing her push-ups, Dean got eye level. So he wasn't just standing up and talking to her, he was right eye level, and I thought that's a good way to keep the client pushing.
It's good.
Yeah, that's true.
So your approach to your position as a trainer.
Yeah. You've got to, with your session, you've got to be aware of two things: how you present to your client and how you present to everyone else. But the amount of times I've pulled someone up for sitting down, like in a chair, while their client's training, and they go, my client's okay with it, and I go, I don't care. What do you think when someone walks off the street and they see you sitting in a chair? They think you're really lazy. So it's also how you represent to other people. But when you're at the same level as your client, there's much better communication. You don't want to talk down to them. You don't want to talk up to them either. You want to be at the same level. So if your client sits down, squat down. It still presents well, but you're at that same level.
The other thing I noticed Dino did, whether it was deliberate or just natural, was that he also broke away and gave Shawnee a bit of her own space. I noticed that with the bike, sometimes she was in her face, and she did, and then he actually walked away from her, and actually walked behind her, so she almost could just be in pain without someone in her face, or be in recovery. So it was connection, then occasionally he would disconnect, or just sort of move away, give him a bit of space to walk around. But it wasn't always on her. But there was timing when she needed him, he connected. When those times she probably felt that she needed a bit of space, you actually broke away a little bit just again. So it was quite interesting how you did that quite effectively.
Yeah, you've just got to watch people's faces and watch how their body responds to what you're doing. But you've just got to be very aware in your sessions. Like, I was watching Shawnee on the bike, and sometimes when I'd get in her face, I'd realise when it would be enough, because her face would go to this sort of leave me alone sort of facial expression, and then because people do it unintentionally, and that's when you've got to leave them be. Because if you push them too much, then they won't work hard anymore. They'll just go, I'm done. So you've just got to be very mindful of their facial expressions and how their body language is going. Like if they turn away from you, don't follow them, like just let them be. If their facial expression just goes to a leave me alone face, then stop talking, just let them be. Give them a few seconds, and then if they start dropping off again, give them a bit of encouragement again. But don't just stand there yelling at them, because they'll get really annoyed. Some people like it, so that's why you've got to watch for facial expression. Some people hate it. Some people like to have the instruction, and then for you just to stand there and give them that motivation every now and again when they need it. Some people love you to be in their face the whole time. You've just got to be mindful that every person's different. Even if they've got the same behavioural style, say two DIs might respond to training in two very different ways. So just watch their facial expressions and watch their body language, and allow them to go away. When it's rest time, let them do what they want. Unless they feel like they're really dizzy or something like that, then I'll try and get them to walk around and keep moving.
So what are some of the other things you enjoy? Sure, what do you enjoy? That training?
Exactly what you're saying. I normally get quite irritated when someone's training me, but you didn't irritate me at all. Like you left me lying into the roof, and I was really good, and you motivated me to be motivated. And I felt like when you were at my level, you were there with me. Like you were feeling the pain as well. But
Yeah.
you weren't, but I felt like you were.
Yeah.
You wanted to for the pain.
Yeah, and like when you had your lean on your shoulder, I felt like you were there with me doing it, which was
Don't be afraid to communicate through touch in your sessions, because one of the best ways to develop rapport with someone is through physical contact. Be mindful of that as well. Some people hate being touched, so genuinely give them the option to lean on you rather than you touching them. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So with Shawnee, I allowed her, I said, look, hold on to my shoulder. And it's a great way to establish rapport. But if I was holding her up, it'd be very weird and very awkward. And she'd be like, I don't even know you, and you're holding me in place, it's just weird. Whereas if they're holding you, there's that trust there.
Like at first when you were holding my hand and then you moved it to your shoulder.
Yeah.
That was my
Yeah.
Look very romantic though.
Romantic session.
I think it was great what you were saying about the circuit training there, everyone looking inward, all watching each other made you push so much harder, knowing that you were watching as well.
Yeah.
And it really does work. Like you're saying, if we were separate and someone's off on the rolling machine in the other room sort of thing, you can't see anyone else working, it just drops the tempo,
Yeah.
not pushes hard.
Sometimes if you've got a group of people, you've got no equipment. I used to do with sporting teams when I used to do field drills. If I had a big baseball team or football team, I get in one big circle. They all face in the middle, I'm in the middle. And I kept to do a minute of jump squats, we're facing each other. And I'm timing it. And anyone who slacks off, what do the rest of the team do? They rag on them. You know, they get on to them. They might do a minute of burpees, a minute of push-ups. They might do a minute of from where we are, sprint to the outside of the hood and sprint back in. So everyone's, they all come together to this one middle where the energy is, but they all face each other. So when you construct, even in your stretch at the end, in a circle, all facing in, so they actually, that means you're in the middle and you can actually, they can all see what you're doing. So you just, when you structure your class, how can I build the energy, and it can be just being how it's all put together and where everyone's looking at. Because people, when they look, when people watch, the posture changes, the effort changes. And that in itself is motivation, it's not about getting and screaming. What do you like about it, Wes?
Yeah, it was good.
Wes is still recovering.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm still recovering. So.
Well, Wes was a classic example where, the intensity, because if he kept pushing, Wes is the type of guy who pushes himself until he is actually unconscious. And he has been that way a couple of times in our sessions. I remember I pushed him and then he just laid down for about 2 hours with the towel over his head. And so you've got to remember, when to take the foot off the pedal. Sometimes you have to protect the client against themselves. Because there's some clients who actually push themselves too far, too hard, because whatever reason it might be.
Have you had it before where you're getting group training and no one in the group's really pushing, so they're all just working off each other's low intensity, and
If you ever find like a class is really low intensity, you've got two options. You can make the group class more fun and make it a fun class for that day, or what I generally do is I address it. So I'll stop at the end of that 5-minute drill, I'll bring everyone together and I'll say, look, I don't believe you guys are working to your full potential today. How about we try and lift it in the next round? And I'll remind them all of something. So say, for example, we've got our 9-week challenge. So if we're during the 9-week challenge, I'll say, come on guys, we've got 2 weeks left of the challenge. Only got 2 weeks left, that's only 4 more classes to go. How about we give it all you've got, so at the end of this 9 weeks you can be really proud of yourself. So you've got to give them that reason to work hard. If you don't have a reason, then you can't address it. You've got to be able to give them a reason.
Yeah, I really liked how it was broken into 3 sections as well. Just kind of, it was a bit more, it kept you on your toes, and the fact that you only had, I've only got 5 exercises for 1 minute, that's all you concentrated on, rather than the fact that I'm doing a half an hour worth of exercise.
Yeah.
So just broke it down so you didn't hold back. You gave it a lot more.
Because they've been in the home straight.
Mm.
If you go for a long run, the 100 metres you put the most effort into is the home straight. So breadth that runs up into home straight is what one of my favourite authors is James Patterson. And the main reason why I love reading this book, apart from the great stories, is how long are the chapters?
1.5 pages.
Yeah, 1.5, 2 pages. So I'm never afraid to start another chapter. And when I finish one chapter, so I can squeeze another one in, you can squeeze another one in, squeeze another one in. But if a chapter's 50 pages, I says, oh, geez. So I'm one of those people, I need to finish the chapter. Yeah, so small chapters means you're more likely to start, more likely to put more effort into it.
And not letting us know either how many we've got after that.
Yeah.
So we constantly think about the last one. It really makes you push to the end.
And the key thing I've found when you're doing a class, try not to let intervals go for over a minute. Because as soon as it goes over a minute, like you guys would have felt it. Remember when we had those penalty seconds? As soon as it went past a minute, the intensity just went poof. It was just mental toughness pushing you through then.
Came out of steam mode, didn't it?
That's it.
Yeah,
Like
you
you
definitely
run
have
out of
that.
steam.
Yeah.
Whereas we got down to that 30-second round at the end, you guys were pushing hard out. And then you walk away from that round, you feel like you've achieved something, you feel good. Whereas at the end of those long rounds, you're like, oh. So you want them to walk away from every round, every session, every set, feeling like they've achieved something good.
Push to the end.
Like you don't want it to be a false sense of achievement where you've made it really easy. Like it's got to be hard, but achievable.
I thought it was really good how you'd go around and you'd get down to that last 10 seconds and you'd say 10 seconds left, and then you'd target one person and push them to get a certain amount of reps in, instead of them just doing 2, and then you probably did 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And that was really good because you get that maximum out of that
Towards the end.
exercise.
The little thing when you do minutes, which I discovered, if it's a minute, for example, sometimes a countdown is quite positive because they know how much longer to go. The little technique I use, I never give them a countdown until they're over halfway through. Because if it's a minute and after 15 seconds they're really hurting, and you go, come on team, that's 15 seconds, you got another 45 seconds, you go, oh Jesus. So I always let them know when they're on the other side, on the
way back.
on the way back. So if it's say a minute interval, I would say, okay team, you got 30 seconds to go. Then I might go 20 to go. And what happens when you say you got 10 to go? And all you need to do is go 10, 9, 8, and what do people do in that? They just naturally do it. So just give them that time and they'll naturally lift themselves. So just giving a little bit of that's another way to get the most out of it, rather than give them a number, but give them a little countdown, because they tend to push closer to the end. But make sure you don't give them any time until you're on the other half of the end, not the front end, because they can actually have the reverse effect. When we were doing boxing the other day, we were doing the...
Yeah.
I didn't say anything until we got to 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So when you're after 10 seconds, your arms are going...
Yeah. I was done. Done after 10 seconds.
Yes. Okay, final comments or final questions before we give it a wrap up for a fantastic day of cardiovascular training.
It was lots of fun.
It was
Great,
great.
yeah.
Mm.
Really enjoyed it.
And fun isn't always just measured by ha 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 ha. Fun has to be supported by achievement.
Yeah, I definitely am feeling that I achieved something.
I could tell.
Even sitting here, I'm like,
Yeah. You could tell as you slouched down by the punching bag.
I was stretching my
You're Rocky in the
legs.
corner. Rocky in the corner after being belted up by Mr. T.
I think the difference having somebody stood there is massive. If you're in a gym by yourself, there's no way you push to that sort of level. You wouldn't be near it.
There's no way you push yourself by yourself in that or in an hour like that. So that's why it's a great option for personal training is the number of personal training sessions your business averages is what, 2.3?
2.3 sessions.
Okay, so that's 2 adults and a young child, is that right?
2.5 then.
2.5.
Yeah. Some people do 3, some people do 2.
So from a training point of view, one of those sessions could be a strength session, and the other session could be a cardiovascular interval session. And that way, if you're doing a strength sessions, you can actually double your business by giving them an extra cardiovascular session of quality, because they'll never do that intensity by themselves. If you wrap into that, or the hands-on stretching and the massage at the end, then you've got that little personal touch to it as well. it's a great way to grow your business without actually adding more clients, just adding more sessions. And then you can put in, mix them up, boxing, interval, electronic, outdoor, different like that. Okay, so closing statement. Blair, closing statement to wrap up your training today with Dino.
Oh, I thought it was just all around fantastic.
Yeah, that'll make you come back.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
Take that.
I'll do it again.
Wiz.
Oh, when I finish, I just feel like Mr. Olympia, you know?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, loved it. Absolutely loved it. I think, like I said, you working so much harder doing that than what you ever would by yourself. I think it's just all around great workout.
Yeah, I'd come back.
And more importantly, you pay.
Yes.
You'd
and I
notice
recommend it too.
You'd invest.
You made me feel like I could achieve anything.
Cool.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you, everybody at home. May you take some of these gold nuggets that Dean shared and we discussed today, implement that into your own training, and may you make your training the most greatest training sessions people will ever experience. Will make you super successful as a personal trainer. That's a wrap. Just have a chicken wrap, maybe at Nando's, huh?
Yeah.
Wrap there.